Nashville Predators come back with a big win against the Dallas Stars, led by some high-profile performances from a couple of the team's biggest names. We'll recap the highs and lows of the past weekend in this week's Plus Minus. Plus, in honor of tonight's college football playoff national championship game, who would be the NHL's college football playoff top 4 teams right now? We'll dive into that on today's Locked on Predators podcast.
You're Locked on Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making the Locked on Predators podcast your first listen of the day, every single day. We are your free daily Nashville Predators podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, want to start with a special shout out to our loyal Locked on Pred heads out there, the everydayers who tune into every single show. We love you guys, and we appreciate the support you give us week in and week out. I'm Nick Morgan. I'm a writer at Penalty Box Radio, and I have a partner in crime.
You do. I'm Ann Kimmel. I'm a writer at The Hockey News.
Want to mention today's episode is also brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. All right. It is Monday, which means we have Plus Minus in store for today, recapping the highs and lows of the Predators' past week of hockey. And also tonight, which is a big night for us Michigan Wolverines fans, the college easy there, Penn State.
I didn't say anything. My face maybe did, but the rest of it didn't say anything.
The college football playoff championship game is tonight. And in honor of that, who would be the college football playoff committee's top 4 NHL teams as it stands right now? We're going to dive into that and Plus Minus coming up in just a little bit. But first, let's recap the weekend that was in Smashville and a big, big win down in Big D for the Nashville Predators, 4-3 win over the Dallas Stars. And considering what happened the previous game, we saw the Nashville Predators go out and play. I think it's safe to say, although there's certainly some things you have to clean up, the result, I think, is something that the Nashville Predators are going to be very, very happy about.
Yeah, I think especially after the game Thursday against the Calgary Flames, where the Predators really didn't put very many things together in that game. And then to know, hey, your bounce back game is against the Dallas Stars. There's a lot of emotion. I think there was maybe a little bit of emotional baggage from the previous Dallas Stars game where they came back and won it in the last 13 seconds. I thought, man, this is a perfect storm for another game where the Nashville Predators maybe struggle, whether it's, execution on ice, being mentally prepared for the game. And what a pleasant surprise and what an interesting statement the 4-3 win over Dallas really was, because with the situation the way that it was, I wasn't 100% sure what to expect out of this team. That was a kind of a big ask after such a letdown game against Calgary and against a team like Dallas. But here we are, it's Monday morning, and we are talking about the Nashville Predators getting a win over the Dallas Stars. So pretty interesting, pretty surprising.
And the Dallas Stars, that was their third loss in a row, and they had dropped 2 in a row coming out. So as much as, Nashville wanted to kind of make a statement with a good comeback win, Dallas wanted to as well and kind of assert where they are. And again, there's a few things that I think the Predators absolutely need to clean up a little bit.
For sure.
I think Dallas was very strong on the puck, something that I think has kind of been akin to Nashville's Achilles heel here lately, is not sort of maintaining possession during those puck battles, or, being able to kind of keep possession through tight spaces on the ice or win those board battles. I still think the giveaways are a big problem for Nashville. That led to some really good chances for Dallas. But, the big thing for me, Ann, is that the big stars for Nashville, no pun intended, were the ones that kind of carried this game again. Filip Forsberg, 2 goals in this game. Ryan O'Reilly, 2 assists. You had Gustav Nyquist with a goal and assists. And so these are sort of the big names that you want to see setting the pace for Nashville doing just that.
Yeah, and this is the way Nashville is going to win games this season. They're not going to probably be able to win a ton of games without Ryan O'Reilly, Filip Forsberg, and Gustav Nyquist playing really, really well. I mean, they are far and away Nashville's best line. You also want to give a shout out to Luke Evangelista, who scored. And I want to give a special shout out to Luke because one of the things that I think we've kind of noticed recently about Evangelista is he is very much a pass first kind of guy. And he had a 2-on-1 breakaway with Tommy Novak. And it was one of those times where, as you watch the play unfold, you're like, okay, I'd really love to see Luke take this shot. I think there's been a couple times recently where we see him pass up a shot. Great shot, fantastic goal, really an important goal for the Nashville Predators. And also, you've got to get some of these lines going. As much as I just said, Nashville needs their top line to play well to win. They're also going to need to get some of these depth lines going, depth players like Luke Evangelista going. So hopefully this is really kind of a shot in the arm for Evangelista, for Novak, who those two are usually together. Some interesting lineup decisions for Nashville in this Dallas game too. We've been talking a lot about UC Saros. We've been talking a lot about, this season, Andrew Burnett has done resets with younger players. We did not see Cody Glass again. He was a healthy scratch. We did not see Kiefer Sherwood, who was a healthy scratch. And it was Kevin Lankinen who got the start in net with against the Dallas Stars. So I thought, those were some interesting decisions that Andrew Burnett made. Ultimately, I thought Lankinen looked really, really good. I don't know that we've really had a game where we've seen Lankinen and go, ooh, woof. That's not a very good backup. Like, this guy he is probably one of the most underrated backup goaltenders, I think, in the league. And so it was good to see him do what he did with the opportunity he was given.
Yeah. Goaltending controversy in Nashville.
I don't know that we're there.
No.
Do you really
no, of course not. But I will say if Lankinen plays well, I mean, he's like statistically has been better than UC Saros this season. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
I think it's less of, Kevin Lankinen's going to challenge for the number 1 job and more of the Preds really need to get UC Saros going here.
Yeah.
And, you talked about, player resets and stuff like that. And, Cody Glass has had, at this point, he's like a broken iPhone where it just kind of resets itself. He's been healthy scratched that many times.
Yeah.
Kiefer Sherwood, I think, has, needed a reset. But, UC Saros himself, I think, kind of needed a reset there. And just the way he has kind of been playing, I think it doesn't help to maybe take him. I would assume, if he played well against Calgary, he would have 100% gotten the start for a big road game against a Central Division team. And the fact that they're like, okay, well, let's give Lankinen some minutes. I think maybe that's a good reset for Saros too, to kind of sit, refocus, not have, basically more than one day to kind of get his mind right after a couple of these bad performances. So, I think this can be that sort of moment for him as well.
Yeah, I agree. And, I don't think that there's going to be a huge goalie controversy here in Nashville. I do wonder if maybe they will split starts a little bit more. If you look back at UC Saros, this is a guy who's played the most games in the NHL for several seasons. He and Connor Hellebuck kind of go back and forth for, most starts, most games, most minutes. Last year, Saros saw the most shots, played the most minutes. So maybe Lankinen will get a little bit more, it'll be a little bit more balanced. But yeah, I don't think that we've seen the last of UC Saros in net. So nobody panic. He's going to be fine.
Yeah. And look, there's maybe no goaltending controversy, but Kevin Lankinen plays well. He's an unrestricted free agent. There's a lot of teams, contenders at the deadline that are going to be looking for goaltender help. Maybe Nashville can maybe strike gold with sort of an underrated goalie deal at the deadline here as well.
And I think Lankinen is probably one of the best options out there that very few people are talking about. If you're looking to get somebody to shore up your goaltending to make a deep cup run, I'm telling you, Kevin Lankinen would be a find. And it would be great for the Predators. So I think it's something to keep an eye on.
I'm with you there. So Kevin Lankinen, good game for him. Who else deserves some kudos for their play over the past week? We'll dive into that with our Monday plus minus coming up in just 1 second. But first, want to mention today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Folks, if you're not familiar with GameTime, it is a up and rising ticket app. It is becoming one of the most popular ticketing apps in the country, and you only need to go shop for one event to understand why. Recently, my girlfriend's birthday, I got her tickets to Book of Mormon in Cincinnati, and I decided to look for tickets on Game Time because the box office didn't have a lot of them. Found a great deal on tickets that I'd found for like $130 on some other site. Only $60 on Game Time. And that's because Game Time always has flash deals on whatever event you're looking to right up to the start of the event. We're talking about flash deals on football tickets, hockey tickets, concerts, comedy shows, theater, and much more. All you have to do is search for zone deals. You pick the section you want to sit in, and Game Time picks the seats that give you the best big time savings. And the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, and it's Monday, so it's time for plus minus. You guys know how this works. We go through the past week of Nashville Predators hockey, give shout outs in the form of pluses, maybe some minor demerits in the terms of minuses. So, Anne, start us off with a plus. Who are we talking about from this past week?
Well, I'm going to start off with a plus. So somebody we've already touched on a little bit in this episode, but definitely want to spend a minute and give an official plus to Gus Nyquist. Gus 100%. Nyquist has been on fire for the Nashville Predators, very kind of quietly signed. I feel like his signing was a little bit overshadowed by the signing of Ryan O'Reilly, and I think the intention to bring in Gus Nyquist was maybe a little different than what his usage is. It sort of seemed like the goal was like, hey, this is going to be a second line guy. We're going to try to use him to get Cody Glass going. Obviously, a lot of things happened this season, and Gus Nyquist has been playing on that top line again with Ryan O'Reilly, Filip Forsberg, and that is exactly where he belongs. Gus Nyquist, I think he is 34. He's old in hockey years, emphasis on the in hockey years. But this is somebody who is showing he's playing some of his best hockey of his career right now. He is on an 8-game point streak. This is somebody who plays with speed. He is fantastic when it comes to things like puck retrievals. Great at setting up Ryan O'Reilly and Filip Forsberg both. He has assists for both of them. Great on special teams. There really isn't anything that Gus Nyquist isn't doing well right now for the Nashville Predators. And, I know he wasn't named to the All-Star game like Filip Forsberg and maybe doesn't get as much attention as somebody like Ryan O'Reilly. But I'm telling you, Gus Nyquist, secretly fantastic signing for the Nashville Predators. 8-game point streak, very impressive.
And I watched Gustav Nyquist for a long time when he was with Detroit. So naturally followed him the past few years. Yeah. When he first popped up on the Predators penalty kill, my first thought was, Jesus Christ, we're all screwed. The man is notorious for basically skate, pass, and nothing else. Yeah. And I have been pleasantly surprised with Gustav Nyquist, I think, all around play this year, his two-way play, the way he's able to, sort of maintain possession, the way he's able to kind of go back in Andy Burnett's system and go back and retrieve the puck. He's already passed his points total from last year. He was hurt a lot of it, but, in about, I think, it's been 11 fewer games so far. So, Gustav Nyquist is becoming a great all-around player for the Nashville Predators. And I agree. A lot of people raise their eyebrows with this one.
Mhm.
But I think he deserves some credit. Another person that we touched on that I want to give a plus to is Luke Evangelista.
Let's go.
That goal against Dallas was his third goal in the past 4 games for the Nashville Predators. Look, we talked about Evangelista maybe not having quite the impact we thought he would this year. Came in hot at the end of last year. I think a lot of people were expecting him to just sort of jump into the top 6 and immediately be, sort of the heir apparent and get, 60 points or, whatever your projection for him was. And it just hasn't been there this year. He was healthy scratched, a couple of weeks ago, was about to be healthy scratched again, but then a couple injuries popped up and he wound his way back in. And since then, I think he's kind of recentered himself a little bit. And you're starting to see more consistent play, especially in the offensive end for Evangelista. Yeah. And this little streak he's on, 3 goals in his past 4 games. I think that is a direct result of the work that he has been putting in to this team.
Yeah. And I want to give a shout out. I just want to piggyback on that for Luke Evangelista. One of the things that has been super encouraging is that in talking with him, one of the things that he said last week is he talked about growth in this league is not linear. There's going to be ups and downs. And I thought, thank goodness that the young players are learning that now, because we talk about Andrew Brunette says there's not a lot of margin for error. The NHL really isn't a development league. Like, you've got to come here and be ready to go. And Andrew Brunette has said, if you lose your game at this level, it's very hard to find your game. But I think Luke Evangelista is finally, he's understanding the process. You're going to have good streaks, you're going to have bad streaks. You just kind of got to stick with your game. So I think there's really a maturing going on off of the ice too, as far as how he looks at the game of hockey and the experience in the NHL. So way to go, Luke Evangelista. Pretty boy Vincenzo. So proud of you.
Back at it.
So proud.
All right, and it can't all be good, right? Why don't you drop a minus on us?
Yeah, okay. I'm actually going to give a minus to the Nashville Predators, which, hurts my heart. But let's talk about...
suck it, entire team.
Yeah, no. Let's talk about the home record here, boys, and how we're going to fix this going forward, because the Predators have lost 4 of their last 5 games at home. They got the win over Chicago, but I think we can all agree probably that was not the prettiest hockey game that the fans at Bridgestone Arena have, been treated to. Now, they lost to some good teams at home. It was they lost to Calgary, Dallas. That was a brutal loss, friends. Carolina, another rough game where the Predators didn't play well. Vancouver's a great team, so I'm going to let that one maybe slide a little bit. But making Bridgestone Arena a tough place to play is a real priority for Andrew Brunette, for Barry Trotz. Like, this is a reputation that means something to the front office. And it just has not been that recently, and it was earlier in the year. From mid-November to mid-December, they won 8 of their 10 home games. This is something the Predators have to be able to do. Don't get so comfortable at home that you forget, how you have to play. Now, they have a chance to change that narrative and make this a plus next week. They've got a couple home games against the New York Islanders and against the Anaheim Ducks this week, but this is something that they've got to fix. They've got to be ready to play at home and win at Bridgestone Arena, especially against some of the teams that are coming in.
Yeah, I mean, you need that to kind of be your haven. Like, Bridgestone was, once considered one of the toughest places in the entire NHL to play for road teams to try to come in and win a game. So, yeah, the Nashville Predators, I think, absolutely need to sort of get that magic back.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give a minus to 2 goal leads.
Oh,
they can't seem to lock it down, can they?
Yeah.
Or at least make it easy. You had a 2-goal lead against Dallas this past week that quickly went away. You had the 2-goal lead against the Washington Capitals that went away. Preds wound up winning that game, but much tougher than it needed to be.
Right.
Then, of course, dating back to Dallas before Christmas, another 2-goal blown lead. Sorry for bringing that one up. You also have like leads against the Detroit. It wasn't a 2-goal lead, but you had a pretty strong lead against them late that disappeared. The Nashville Predators, I think they're still trying to find that killer instinct. That's sort of, okay, we are going to take it up an extra level. I used to just be like, when you have a lead, don't change anything. Don't go into defensive mode, don't sort of park the bus, that kind of thing. I was just like, keep playing your game and you'll be fine. In reality, I think that's changed though, because, the other teams are going to kind of up the ante a little bit. They're going to start pressuring. So I think when you have leads like that, you have to try even harder. You have to step your game up even more to try to keep that going. And, that's something I think the Nashville Predators are still working on. Some of these, they've obviously the win wound up, the win wound up coming through against Dallas, the win wound up coming through against Washington a couple of weeks ago, but I just want to see them be able to lock up those types of wins more.
Yeah. Killer instinct. Let's see that. Let's see the killer instinct. Sweep the leg.
Yeah, exactly. Sweep the leg. We can't be we can't be negative Nancy's to end, right? And so why don't you close with one more plus with us?
I want to do a combined plus for baby Preds. 2 baby Preds are getting a special combined plus today. I want to give a plus to Yaroslav Askarov, who not only we remember came up here and got his first NHL win, but headed back to Milwaukee, and he got back-to-back shutouts against the Colorado Eagles this week. So shout out to Yaroslav Askarov, who has just really, he's growing in his game. Love to see it. Love him. And I want to give a shout out to another baby Pred, 7th round draft pick, Aiden Fink, my friends, who is playing at Penn State. So I'm watching what's going on there. 7th round pick. He was David Poyle's last ever pick as a general manager. He is playing at Penn State on what they lovingly refer to as the kid line. He's playing with 2 other freshmen. Fink scored 2 goals and 1 point in the biggest comeback in Penn State University men's hockey history against Army to win 7-6. One was a power play goal. This is a young kid who is leading Penn State men's hockey in points. He's tied for first in goals, and really in Big Ten hockey, he is moving right up the ranks as a freshman. So Aiden Fink and Yaroslav Askarov, way to go, young men. Super fun to watch their careers develop.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked about Aiden Fink before, but if he can get his skating up just a little bit, a little bit, I think he might wind up being a 7th round steal.
Little Yusso Parsonen, maybe? I don't know. Different style game.
Maybe with a little bit more firepower, too. So, you're bragging on Penn State. I have to brag on Michigan, Ann, because the Wolverines, of course, are in the College Football Playoff National Championship game tonight. If the College Football Playoff Committee was in charge of the NHL, which 4 teams do you think they would put in the Stanley Cup playoff, whatever you want to call it, right now? We're going to have our top 4 coming up in just 1 second.
First, I want to let you know this episode's brought to you by our great friends at FanDuel. The NFL regular season is wrapping up. We saw Derrick Henry in what could be his last game as a Tennessee Titan, having a killer game yesterday afternoon. But hey, just because the season's wrapping up doesn't mean the deals at FanDuel are. You can get in on the action with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. And friends, the FanDuel app is super easy to use. There's so many different ways for you to get in on the action. They have live same game parlays. You can go and find bets to place in the new Explore tab on the site. You can also make a parlay in the Parlay Hub. That's the best way to find the popular parlays for the day, and so much more. So go and visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a field goal. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
All right, and tonight is the college football playoff championship game. Go Blue. We have Michigan taking on Washington tonight. You want to see the Big Ten win, don't lie. So, if the NHL had a college football playoff committee, who would they put in their bracket? So, what Anna and I did, we took what the NHL teams are right now, where they are in the standings. We have accounted for hot streaks, injuries, how they've stacked up against certain common opponents. And we have put together our top 4. So our college football playoff bracket for NHL. It's not necessarily West versus West or East versus East. These are just the top 4 teams in the NHL right now. Anne, what's your bracket?
All right. So my first team I'm putting in is Vancouver.
Okay. Are they your 1 seed?
They're my 1 seed, Vancouver. I just think you've got so many weapons. They're well-rounded. Everybody right now seems pretty healthy. They could have a Norris Trophy winner in one of the Hughes brothers, Quinn. Goaltending. Thatcher, Demko, and Casey DeSmith are just on it. I think they've got great depth players. They've scored the most goals of any team in the NHL. So for me, my number 1 seed, Vancouver Canucks, my friends.
Yeah. All right. I went another direction. My number 1 seed was the Winnipeg Jets. The best team in the NHL right now, but also the best team in the NHL for a reason, because they are red hot right now.
They are.
I think I think that streak is still going on, but they have, I believe somebody mentioned, they have not allowed more than 3 goals in a game in something like 22 games this year.
I think it's a few more than
22
that,
consecutive games,
yes.
Which is incredible. I think Connor Hellebuck right now deserves strong consideration for NHL MVP. But it's not just, they're getting like good goaltending and they're being way better than they should. Like, they have a complete team. Mark Scheifele, Nikolai Ehlers both having good years. I think the defense in front of Hellebuck has been really good this year. And when Kyle Connor gets back, which should be hopefully within the next month, I think they're going to take off even further. So for me, Jets, number 1 team. Number 2 team, Anne, I have the Boston Bruins.
Interesting.
Maybe would have been number 1 a couple of weeks ago, but sliding just a little bit, not much though. I still think on paper they're the most complete team in the NHL. They have the scoring, they have the depth, they have the goaltending, 2 goaltenders right now, and they have the defense. I think they're just on paper, maybe the best all around NHL team at this moment. So who do you have number 2?
Number 2, I went with the Winnipeg Jets for a lot of the same reasons that you did. My number 2 team, Winnipeg Jets. You look at the teams they beat Carolina, they beat Colorado, they beat Boston, they beat Florida, they beat the LA Kings. Like, they're beating all of the best teams in the league. So for me, my number 2 team is Winnipeg Jets.
Winnipeg Jets. Okay. Who do you have number 3?
Number 3, I went with the New York Rangers. I went with the Rangers. I did. Well, I figure you've got Artemi Panarin, you've got Zibanejad, you've got Chris Kreider having an incredible season. Defensively, Adam Fox, he is just, they just defensively are just a sound team. Goaltending wise, I don't know that Shesterkin has done as well as everybody expected. I think everybody thought he was going to just be off the charts, but he has been very good. Jonathan Quick, if you need a backup, Jonathan Quick, you can't complain about that.
That's a sentence. Didn't think I'd be saying it. Jonathan Quick has apparently been one of the best goalies in the NHL this year, which I didn't have on my bingo list coming forward, but
he's 0-2 in his starts. So, you've just got a team that I think is doing well. They have one of the best power play teams in the league, one of the best penalty kills, in the league. And I think if you're looking at just the special teams advantage, I think you kind of have to put in the New York Rangers. I think they're healthy. Everybody's playing well. I think they're consistently good. So I went New York Rangers for my 3 team. Who's your 3 team?
My 3 team was Vancouver. I had Vancouver at 3. I'm
Interesting.
with you. With everything you said, I think they have a lot of firepower right now. I think they're 1 year away from being like where the Lightning and an Avalanche were
Yeah.
over the past couple of years. I think they're that good. I talked about Connor Hellebuck being an MVP frontrunner. I think Quinn Hughes is somebody that also
Yes.
deserves some consideration for that. By far, him and Makar are the best defensemen in the NHL right now.
Yep.
And speaking of
Come
my
on.
number 4 team,
Come on.
they're the Alabama, I guess, of this bracket, the Colorado Avalanche.
Yep.
Because look, if Boston, I think on paper is still the best team in the East, I think Colorado on paper is still the best team in the West. I think they've had that sort of Alabama slump this year where they just got into a rut sort of at points in the season, but they're strong at the right time, 7-2-1 of their last 10. Nathan McKinnon
Come on.
could also very well be a Hart front runner right now. I think, you have Makar on the back end. It's one of those things where it's like they're in there because who is beating this team in the playoffs,
Yep. And they're my number 4 team. I have them too. Colorado is my number 4 team in my top 4 because I think at any given moment, I would never bet against Colorado. I just wouldn't bet against them. They have off games, and I know that, and I know record wise, maybe some people are like, really, Colorado? But their best games, I think, are better than anyone else's best games.
I'm with you
for
there.
me, I think they're great. They're second in goals scored. They have a top 10 power play. I know the goaltending statistics aren't fantastic, but they're good when they need to be good. And I just think Colorado, they're going to win another one. And who wouldn't want to see Ryan Johansson win a cup? I mean, it would have been better to see him win it here, but
Would
we
you
are.
rather see the Colorado Avalanche win another cup? There's probably some carryover between those two. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. I just think Colorado is a team, no matter who they're up against. I'm just not super confident betting against them, no matter who they're playing against. I just think they can beat most any team on any given day. Yeah.
So to recap, our matchups are Winnipeg, Colorado, 1-4 for me. Boston and Vancouver, 2-3 for me. And you had Vancouver, Colorado, 1-4.
Yep.
And then Jets and Rangers, 2-3.
Yeah.
All right. So interesting. Who wins out of those 4? Real quick.
You know what? Oh gosh, we are so good at this. I don't know why we aren't in charge. This is a tough call. Honestly, I'm gonna say Vancouver. I know you say they're about a year away or so from that, but I really think Vancouver can do it.
I'll go Colorado.
Okay.
I picked the 4th seed for another championship win. All right. So that's our playoff brackets. Let us know what you think by commenting on our YouTube channel or by dropping us a tweet at LO_Predators. That's going to do it for us on today's show. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. We will be back tomorrow with another all-new episode. We'll see you then.